everybody, welcome back to Darvanalee Designs Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole and today is our Stitch With Me. So I have been doing a little bit of stitching on this every single day. I've challenged myself to do a 30-minute a day, and I thought, well, why not incorporate Monday stitching into the Stitch With Me? So yeah, we're going to stitch on Where There Are Bees by the Prairie Schooler. That's what it's going to look like when it's finished. And if you've been following along on Instagram or on the Facebook group, mainly the Facebook group is where I'm posting, but I do a once a week update over on Instagram for it. You would have seen that I've got a fair chunk of stuff in. Alright, so I got a little bit held up last week with finishing off this one. I had to wait for some floss to come in, but that grey floss has come in and I'm charging along again. In the pattern, it actually has the bee here and down here. I'm actually putting my initials down. Wherever that is, I'm putting my initials. So on this side I'm putting the N, on this side I'm putting the R, and down here I will put the N as well. So as you can see, I've got a fair chunk of it done. What my challenge is, I will be doing this 30 minutes a day, every day, until it's finished. It's a 2019 start, and if you've been watching my Flosstube, you know that I'm trying to knock off my 2019 whips. So here's hoping that I get rid of a lot of them by the end of the year. Doing the 30 minute a day challenge is really good because I am focusing on this more than my other pieces. So I do this every morning with my cuppa. So I have my cup of tea this morning. I'm all set up and ready to start stitching. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the books that I've read this week as well. So if you are new here and that's something that you like, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up down below, and also leave me a comment and tell me if you've read the books that I talk about today, and what you are currently reading, because I'd love to know, and if you've got any recommendations for me to read. So, all right, what's been happening in the last week? I'll give you a little bit of an update before we get stuck into the books. Not much has been happening. I had Little M here. I updated everybody on my Flosstube, and I will card that up the top here. And yeah, so we had her here. So not a lot of stuff got done, so to speak. And I got a little bit of stitching in, but not a great deal. But you can see all that. There's an update in my Flosstube about all that and how she's going and all that sort of stuff. Other than that, we've just been really chilling out because it's been school holidays. I have been... Well, everybody else has been chilling out. I have been crazy busy making project bags. Yesterday, which was Sunday, I made 15 project bags. I didn't cut and prep them and everything all in one day. I actually did that the day before on Saturday, so I did all the ironing and all the prepping and all that. So I got them all done, and today I have a lot more stuff to do. Alright, so I'm going to just be stitching this out and starting on the teapot. And it's got a teapot and a teacup and the word tea in it. So the colours that I'll be using will be this blue, pink and the grey today. Hopefully I can get a lot... Well, I've got to still do the border, but hopefully I can start on the teapot before we get to the end of it. Okay, so while I'm stitching, as usual, I'm going to talk about the books that I've read this week, or their lack of. I actually read 3 books this week, so that was a good thing. I did get some more reading in this week, which was great. You may have noticed that the audio has just slightly changed on this. So basically what happened was the birds, while I was recording it, the birds went berserk. So I am now doing a voiceover. So hopefully you can hear it okay and you don't mind the audio. I've got a microphone plugged in, and I'm going to talk about the books that I read this week. As I said, I have read 3 and a bit. Alright, so as you know, I have the challenge going on. So for those that are new here, I'm actually doing a reading challenge this year, 100 books in the calendar year of 2021. I am currently up to book 58. So I did get a few more books read this week, and I actually shelved one. Can you believe it? I have actually shelved one. Alright, so we're going to start with the shelved one. Okay, it is called Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. It is a young adult. It has 591 pages. It was published in the year of 2020. I believe towards the middle of the year. I didn't write that down. The genre is young adult. Okay, now this is a Shadow Hunter series. For those that don't know who Cassandra Clare is, she has a series of books that are in the Shadow Hunter world, and there's a couple of series. This series is the first. Well, this book, the Chain of Gold, is the first book in the Last Hours series. You can start reading it. But I'm going to explain why I've shelved it and why I think you should read some other books first. All right, so as I said, it is a young adult book. It's quite a lengthy book. The first book in any series, as you know, can be a bit frustrating because they're building the world, you're getting to know the characters, and all that sort of stuff. I only have really one word to explain this book: frustrating. It's not moving quick enough for me. It's not pulling me in like other books have. Now, I've not read any of her other books, so let's just get that clear right now. I have not read any of her other books, but I have watched the Shadow Hunter series. I love the premise behind it, so I've got a fair idea of the Shadow Hunter world. So basically, it's following a lot of characters. There are a lot of characters in this book. At times, I find it hard to keep track of who all the characters are. But as I said, it is in the midst. It's a first book. It's a series. It's a trilogy, this one. The first book is building the world, building the characters. You're getting to know the characters. So it can get a little confusing when you're getting to know the characters. I have started taking a lot of notes, but as I said, I'm actually shelving this book because I'm just not getting drawn into it. I'm up to page 169, and it's sort of like I'm finding myself getting bored, wanting to go off and do other things, wanting to check my phone. And I think that's because it is a character building and a world building, as I said, for the first book. So I'm finding it a little bit frustrating. Now, even though I'm shelving it, I do have a reason why I'm shelving it. Because as I'm reading it, I'm feeling like... I guess I'm feeling like I'm missing something. Like I haven't... Like there's plot holes in the... There's not plot holes, don't get me wrong, but that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like I just can't get there with it and all the rest of it. So I have now got a new shelf on my Goodreads, and it is definitely not finishing. Now, while I have put it on the definitely not finishing, and I'll explain that now, is I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to read Infernal Devices. Now, I've gone and done a little bit of research and all the rest of it. So some of the main adult characters that are in Chain of Gold were back in that series, and there was 3 books in that series. Off the top of my head, I think it was Clockwork Angel and a couple other ones. Clockwork something or other. There was 3 books in the series. Now, I'm going to go back and read those books now, because this book is actually set after the Infernal Devices series, and way before the Mortal Instrument. Now, the Mortal Instrument is what the TV show, I believe, is based on. So, if you've seen the TV show Shadowhunters, which the acting's not that great in it, and it's very, very much geared towards a younger audience. But I watched it with Needlework, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. I haven't watched all of the seasons. I think I've got one more season to catch up on. She scooted off. I was quite busy, and she scooted off and watched it. So that makes it a little bit difficult to be watching it together. So I've got to go back and watch that. So I don't feel like I need to read that series because I have watched nearly all of and I've got the general idea of it. So, time is limited and I want to fit as much as I can in. So I'm not going to read those series. Am I saying that I'm not going to read it ever? No, I will probably come back to that and read it at a later date, when things slow down and all the rest of it. And especially now that Mia's not here, I've got more time. Brendan's spending more time over the workshop and all the rest of it. And we go out together in the truck and whatnot. So I might be able to convince him to read it in the truck with me at a later date on audiobook. So basically, yeah, I feel like I'm missing something while I'm reading this book, and it's making me feel very frustrated. So rather than just get totally crapped off with this book, I'm just going to shelve it for the meantime, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to read The Infernal Devices. And that's just from a few, looking around on the internet, and that seems to be the general consensus, that you can read it on its own, but it's probably better that you've read some of the other books. So that's where I'm sort of at the moment. Am I going to buy the books? Now, I've got this as a physical book, Chain of Gold. So this is one that I got from a bookshop back at the beginning of the year. Savannah and I discovered it. I think it's called Books, Etc. They do have a Facebook page, and I will link that down below. But they tend to have pop-up shops and all that sort of stuff in malls and stuff around here in Australia. And they had a special at the beginning of the year. And I'm not sure if they do it all the time, because I haven't been back to another bookshop of theirs. There was one at Harbour Town, there was one at Broadbeach on the Gold Coast, and we were down there for a holiday, and of course we went and done some book shopping and all the rest of it, and we come across this bookstore firstly at Broadbeach and then found another one at Harbour Town. So basically I grabbed a heap of books when I was down there. Some, most of them, I've read a couple of them already this year, but most of them are still sitting on my bookshelf. So that's why I've picked this one up. So basically what I was doing is I was reading in the evening, and I was reading a few pages in the morning before I did my 30 minutes of stitching, and, just using it as that way, because I do love the act of reading a physical book, but I just can't get into this. So I figured I'm better off shelving it, better off going back, reading The Infernal Devices, getting a feel for some of the characters that are in this one. And as I said, I don't really need to worry about reading the first series of hers, which is, what was it called again? Mortal Instruments. So I don't really need to read that one. So for now, it's going back onto the bookshelf. As I said, I'm up to page 161. I have placed a bookmark into that. The other books, I'm not going to buy physical books. I am actually going to either get them on Kindle or get them on audiobook. Most likely get them on audiobook. There's 3 of the books, and from what I can tell, they are quite lengthy books, so I don't know when I'm going to get to them, whether that's going to be sooner rather than later. But yeah, I just feel that, like, if you're going to pick this up as a standalone series, you are going to feel like there's something missing. There are a lot of characters. As I said, I'm only up to page 169. Nothing exciting has really happened as yet. There's demons, and, these people hunt them and get rid of them, and, all that sort of stuff. So basically, I just have to shelve it, I think. That's the best thing. It's probably going to frustrate the heck out of me because I am shelving it. I'm not that sort of girl. If I start something, I need to finish it. Although that doesn't carry over into my craft, as you probably already know from all the whips that I have, both quilting and whatnot. It doesn't carry over. But books, I need to finish them. And if I start a series, I need to finish the series. And it would have to be pretty bad of a series for me to go, yeah, no, I'm not finishing it. 50 Shades of Grey comes to mind. Now, I jumped on the bandwagon like everybody else and read 50 Shades of Grey. Like, I haven't even I've got the 3rd book here. I haven't even picked it up. I have no desire to read that. It was just a crappy book. Like, at the end of the day, it was just a crappy book. Like, I understand why it was written that way. It was to go towards the masses and all the rest of it. I get it. It's a quick read for me because it's pretty much just a book that you read when you're not really reading a book, when you don't want to get too invested in the characters and all the rest of it. But yeah, I haven't even watched the second movie. When the first movie came out, I watched that just to see how they were going to do it, because there was some details in the book and all the rest of it, and I was going to like borderline soft porn so to speak, erotica, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so I was a bit curious to see what their take was on it, because they were going to have to be pretty tricky with some of the things, some of the topics and all the rest of it. It wasn't going to, you know, float with mainstream, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that was my opinion. That's how I felt about it. But yeah, that's a series that I've never finished. So, and the Discovery of Witches one, I've read the first 2 books, and I'm not saying that I'm not going to finish that series. I think I will finish that series. I have the audiobook for the 3rd book in my Audible, so it's just a point of clicking play and listening to that. I also have the physical book here as well, so I'll probably do a combination of that, especially now that I have shelved Chain of Gold from Cassandra Clare. I'm a little bit disappointed. Can you hear it in my voice? I'm disappointed because I'm really struggling shelving it, but because I've put that little disclaimer on it that I'll probably come back to it, I'm probably going to be okay with it. So that was Chain of Gold, my feelings on it. At this point in time, I've probably only give it a 1-star rating, and that's basically because nothing's really happened. I'm already up to page 169, and I'm bored. So, and it could be that it's, you know, it's geared towards young adults. But even still, you know, like they're on YouTube and stuff like that, there are young women in their 30s that are reading this and, you know, have said it's been a great book and all that without any spoilers. They just sort of give you the background of where it is. I must mention too, this is also set back in 1890, that era. So like it's you know, a period piece as well. So, yeah, so there's a lot of, funny enough, I've been reading a lot of period pieces, you know, Jane Austen and Bridgerton series and everything this year. So it's not really that far of a stretch to go off my reading genre at the moment, but still, you know, like it's young adult and it's set back then, and it's a lot of, yeah, there's a lot of characters in it and it's very hard to keep track of. But that is getting put back on the bookshelf for now. And so, yeah, if you've read it, what were your thoughts on it? You know, I don't care if you give me spoilers and all the rest of it, because I generally, you know, I've got a fair idea of what's going on with the Shadowhunter world and all the rest of it. And I'm okay with spoilers because, you know, your interpretation could be completely different to my interpretation. So if you've read this book, hey, just leave me a comment down below and, like, tell me what your thoughts were. Did you struggle with it? And all that sort of stuff. I mean, you know, like, yeah, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Is it just me? Maybe I'm just, you know, maybe I just am beyond this series. So I'd really like to hear your opinion on all of that. All right, the next book that I read, and I have my notes in front of me. As you know, I got if you see my Flosstube last week, you would have seen that I got my little notebook, and it looks like a little book itself, like a very old book. The next one that I read was continuing on with the Virgin River series. So I read book 7 this week. It took me a little bit longer to read these books because I did start them just after Mia left. So I started this one on the 17th of September. I listened, because this is an audiobook series that I'm listening to. There is 18, 19 in the series. I think there's 18 and 19's coming out. So it is got a lot of characters and all the rest of it in it. But each book just focuses on a couple of characters and, you know, brushes on what the other characters from the previous book are doing. You know, they're all coming in. It's sort of like, well, it's a romance book for one. It's got the book 7's got 416 pages in it, and it's set in a small town, rural sort of structure, and so the town is called Virgin River, and basically, and I'll just touch on that for new people that are here. It's based in Virgin River, and basically a lot of guys that have served in the military end up here and subsequently find the woman of their dreams, or the woman of their dreams comes to town. It started off with following Jack and Mel. They meet each other. Mel was from the big city. Jack had been retired from the Marines and owns a bar, and then subsequently all the characters in the town come into it. Now, I will say one thing. This series is completely different than the Netflix series. While some of the characters are the same, the storylines have been twisted in the show. I have to change my I'm just looking at the screen right now because, as I said, I had to re-record this. I've just flipped over my work now. Yeah, it's not looking too bad. I'm getting better at the back of my work. It's a work in progress. Yeah, like it's still got some jumps around and all the rest of it, but it's okay. I'm happy with that. It's not too bad. So that's my butt. That's not my butt there. They're my legs. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So book 7, as I said, the books are just carrying on from one another. And the way that the author, who is Robin Carr, if you're looking for them, they're all listed down below where you can get them on Amazon. Basically, Robin Carr has set this series up so as one book ends, it will bring in some new characters into the book while it's focusing on the main characters of that book. Now, you could probably read some of these on their own. Like book 4, you can read on its own. I've actually skipped book 4 because I couldn't get it anywhere here, and it's not being released until the end of October. So I've skipped book 4. And when I went and had a look at the reviews for book 4, a lot of people said that it was a standalone. And I've looked at some reviews, like when you go onto Goodreads, you can click on the book and you can have a look what the book's about. It tells you how many pages, when it was published, all that sort of stuff. And then there's usually some reviews under there. People will put if it's got spoilers or anything like that. It's generally just people's thoughts. And so basically, the stories sort of just stack onto one another and all the rest of it. So here I am at book 7. As I said, it's got 416 pages. It was published back in 2009, and so it's just following on from book 6. It's still covering some of the characters from book 6. So we had the general, and he is in love with a ex-Hollywood actor who has moved to Virgin River, and subsequently it continues on with their story, and they're developing relationship and all the rest of it. It's also brought in a couple of other side characters from other books. So we also see Dan Brady come into it. He was a sketchy sort of dude, and he's been, I don't want to give too many spoilers around. He's a sketchy sort of dude. Well, anyway, he's done some time and he's come back to Virgin River. Cheryl is come into it. I believe her name is Cheryl. I might have written that down wrong, but I believe Cheryl, she was a town drunk, but she's a recovered alcoholic now. And so they cover a bit of their story as well, and they're developing characters. The main story of this one is bringing back some characters from the first couple of books, which was Rick and Liz. So Rick and Liz met as teenagers. They fell in love. Yada, yada, yada. Can't say much after that because there'll be spoilers. Subsequently, Rick goes off to the Marines, and that's picked up for nearly 5 years later. Okay, so about 4 years later, Liz is about to finish high school and Rick is over in the Marines. Now, all I will say is it is a great storyline. It covers... Now, I will say that if you are someone that has had someone that has gone to war or anything like that, this book may trigger some emotions in you. So just please be aware of that when you read it. But like all the books, they do trigger emotions in you. There are different things that happen throughout the storylines that will trigger. So just be aware that there are some emotional events in these books, and they can maybe upset you. So, but they cover the what's happened to him in the Marines and how he's feeling and all the rest of it, and then it comes back to their relationship. There is also another couple in there that are, because it's got 4 couples in it, developing stories of 4 couples in this one. So it was quite a quick read. I didn't get bored with it. It moved around enough to keep everything just flowing nicely and not wanting to switch it off. And if I was reading it or put it down. So basically, we've also got the Doc and Abby. So Abby is pregnant with twins to the Doc, the doctor in town. So so basically it's also got their story developing as well. Great book. Read it pretty quickly in the end. I started it on the 17th and then really didn't pick it up again until Thursday of last week after Mia had gone. I listened to a little bit of it and I finished it. I listened to a little bit of it while she was off doing stuff and whatnot during the week, but then I finished it on the 24th. So I highly recommend, if you're looking for a quick series to read, even though there's so many books in it, they're all available on Audible. Some of the books are available on Scribe, which is another Audible type, but it has books, as it has like ebooks and stuff on there, as well as audiobooks, so it's similar to Audible, and they're the main two that I use. So I have already started book 8. So basically I'm charging through that series. I'm about halfway through now. Little. I've still probably got 2 more books before I'm halfway through. All right, so they're not very long books either. So as I said, book 7 was 416, and book 8 is 371. Now I did look at the reviews for book 8, the first couple, and the first couple on Goodreads, or the first one, especially the first one, said it's pretty much a standalone. And I just had a look, and it had a couple of characters in there in the publisher's notes. It's got a couple of characters that I've not known in the other books, so it's possibly bringing in some more characters. I mean, there's 18, 19 books, so they've got more characters to cover. So now it is a bit different to this, as I was saying earlier. It is a bit different than the TV series. Actually, it's a lot different than the TV series. So I think that's why I'm enjoying it so much, because I don't have to. I'm not constantly. My mind's not constantly flicking back to the series, because I've watched the first 3 series and I can honestly say that there's similarities, but they are completely different. I actually prefer the books over the series, to be honest. So I don't know whether I'm actually going to go back and watch the TV series now, although I might, just out of curiosity, to see where they go and how far they take it. Will they get 19 seasons out of it? I don't think so. I think that they will probably end that series after 5, maybe 6. Netflix is not known for their very long, extensive series. I mean, let's face it, there's been some series on Netflix that have been canned after 1 season. So we'll just have to see where Netflix goes with that, because it is Netflix that's doing it. It's not HBO or Showtime or any of those ones that normally do some of those series. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. All right, so as some of you know, I started reading the classics. I started with Jane Austen. I am up to her 3rd book, and I have finished her 3rd book. I am reading them in chronological order of publishment. Okay, so this book was published in 1814. It is classed as one of the classics, as all of Jane Austen books are. It is in the genre of classic romance. It's set back in the 1800s. It's got 488 pages, in my opinion, far too many pages for this book. To be honest, I'm not really sure how I feel about this book. Again, I'm only listening to these. I'm not actually physically sitting down and reading them. But there is a big but on this one. I'm thinking that I may need to get this either on a Kindle or go and pinch Savannah's copy, because she purchased it, and actually read this in the morning and the evenings, and just give it another run, because I don't know whether I got the full appreciation of this book, because my feelings are just so different from Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. So in the last couple of weeks, I've talked about both those books. Sense and Sensibility I found to be a little bit immature for my taste, but Pride and Prejudice I loved. And I think I'm in the majority of people that have read that book. I'm in the majority for that, and in the minority for Sense and Sensibility. But Pride and Prejudice I love. They were strong characters, really strong characters. But I'm a little bit disappointed with Mansfield Park, because it's gone back to like not great characters. Like, yeah, so I don't know whether it's me or whether I just actually need to read this book physically. It just didn't come off well in the audio. So I'm not 100% sure in that. So basically, yeah, I've got mixed feelings about it. So I didn't find it to be a romance as such. Like, there was romantic premises in it and stuff like that, and but it wasn't the gushing and everything of Sense and Sensibility. It wasn't as strong as a romantic story of Pride and Prejudice. This one, I did struggle, not struggle, just I just don't know how I feel about it. And that's not like me, to read a book and not know how I feel about it. I'm usually quite decisive in my feelings on that sort of stuff. But this one I've struggled a little bit with. So basically it follows the story of Fanny Price, who at 10 years old went to live with, for those that haven't read it, went to live with her aunt and uncle, who are subsequently well off. Like they are well off. Fanny Price's mother married beneath her. And so basically, she had a life of hardship and all the rest of it. So they've sent Fanny off to live with her aunt and uncle. Subsequently, she's got cousins there, who are, believe it or not, only one of them. There's a few cousins there, but only one of them is actually, I would class as a main character. There's the aunt and uncle, and then there's Mrs. Norris. Mrs. Norris drove me insane in this book. Like, she just drove me crazy. She is just a bully. Like, that is just my opinion. I just found her to be a bully. She was just mean at times, and a bit of a nag. I think she just, I could go into a lot more depth on her character, I guess, if I liked her a little bit more, but I really didn't like her. I just found her to be a nag and a little bit of a bully, and all the rest of it. And I think she was written that way to counterbalance the character of Edmund, which is Fanny's cousin. And he always stood up for her, and he was quite kind to her and all the rest of it. On the flip side, Mrs. Norris wasn't so kind. And then I found her aunt to be a little bit melodramatic and not. And as I said, the characters I didn't find them strong and definitive throughout, and basically, I really didn't get the whole hoopla over when the uncle came back. What's his name? Uncle Thomas, when he came back, the whole hoopla over the play, like, I really didn't understand that. Like, what's the big deal, people? But obviously it was a big deal back then or something. I don't know, but maybe I'm missing the point. And this is why I've come to that conclusion, that I think I need to read this in the physical book, that the audio book, and I actually didn't listen to this that far, like, I didn't speed it up, so I wasn't missing anything. I found myself going back a couple of times, and I think I just maybe need to read this book to get the full appreciation of it. And so I've given it 3 stars, and I think I need to revise that. So as I said, I'm probably going to go on, I'll either get my own copy, because Savannah's a little bit particular about her books, and if I break the spine on it, I'm going to have to get a new copy anyway, because she's very, very fussy about that sort of stuff. And, stuff happens. Sometimes people pick it up. I generally don't break a spine on a book, but sometimes it can happen. So when I say break a spine, so it doesn't, when you look at it on my bookshelf, it doesn't look like it's been read. I like my books to be like that. She likes her books to be like that. And sometimes Brendan will pick them up, open them up, or Neroli might pick them up, or Mia might pick it up or something like that. So and if it's on my bed, she'll do that. So even though Mia's not here all the time, no, my luck, I'll still have it sitting in my room, and she'll pick it up and break the bloody spine, and then I'll have to buy the book anyway. So I'll see how I go. I may end up just getting it on Kindle, and I'm pretty sure it's actually through, because I've got Kindle Unlimited, so I can get books all the time. So it might be through that. So that might be the case. And I might be able to take a few extra notes, because it is a little bit hard when you're doing the audiobooks to take notes, especially when the file corrupts in your phone and you can't open it back up, because I had a lot of notes in there. So I've sort of just revised it in my mind and all the rest of it, and I am leaning towards the fact that I really need to look at possibly rereading this book. I am moving on to the next one. I'll probably do that at a later date, probably cover it next year maybe, and I'll do another, talk about it and see how I felt about it and all the rest of it. But I did find it very frustrating. I think the book was a little bit too long, 488 pages. It really didn't need to be 488 pages. We could have done without some of the melodrama that was in it and all the rest of it. But the main character, Fanny, I found that I was, while I was, because I finished reading it yesterday, or listening to it yesterday while I was sewing up the project bags, and I found myself, oh, for God's sake, girl, just say something. She was very, very much, I felt like she got pushed around a lot by the characters. I found that her auntie was, you know, in one aspect of the book, she was invited to dinner by Miss Crawford, and Miss Crawford, for those that haven't read it, has her eye on her cousin Edmund and wants to marry him and all the rest of it. And there's a little bit of a sideline happening there with those two, Edmund and Miss Crawford. And basically, she was invited to dinner, and so Edmund accepted told her to accept the invitation because it was the first time that she was invited, and she should accept it. You know, proper protocol is that you accept it and all the rest of it. Anyway, she goes home and she tells her aunt, and her aunt is like beside herself because, like, what am I to do? Who is going to be here to entertain me? And so she's sort of a companion for the auntie. And so I don't want to do spoilers, but I'm going to have to here. So anyway, subsequently the conversation goes and Edmund stands up for her. They go and see the uncle. The uncle goes by, of course, she should go, you'll be fine. And tells the auntie that she'll be fine without her. And it's like this woman cannot make a decision. And I know it's the time and all the rest of it, but this leads me to the frustration because obviously I didn't live in that time. I live in modern times, and I have a say, and I can do whatever I want and all that sort of stuff. So I found that a little bit frustrating in that aspect. And just like, oh, for God's sake, just do it. You know. So in saying that, it was a great book. As I said, I'm considering rereading it again. So it obviously wasn't a bad book. I don't think it needed to be 488 pages. Could have left a lot of stuff out, a little bit of drivel in there. So far, not my favourite book of Jane Austen's. Definitely Pride and Prejudice is up there, then Sense and Sensibility, and then Mansfield Park. But I still have a lot of books to go, so that characterisation of where it's going to sit in my list, well, that will come a bit later. I've given it 3 stars at this point. But as I said, I am going to revisit that again. So I don't know which one the next book is. I'll have to look that up after this video, and I will get onto that. These classics are actually free through Audible. I do a month-by-month subscription, and that is $16.45 a month, and you get 1 credit for those that haven't got Audible or are interested in listening to audiobooks and haven't done so before. Audible's probably your best place to start. There are other apps out there that you can get and all the rest of it, and they pretty much charge the same as what Audible does. There's a few that don't, and you get like a certain amount, and then there's others that you have unlimited and stuff like that. Generally for me, when I'm looking for an audiobook, I go to Kindle first, and I look through Kindle because I do like reading, and I like to read morning and evening. So I finish my day with a couple of chapters or a chapter or whatever, depending how tired I am. In the morning, I usually start with about 20 or 30 pages. Sometimes that can be a chapter, sometimes that can be half a chapter, depending on the book. But with Audible, just recently, I've always had it for the last couple of years, where I pay the $16.45 per month, and basically I get 1 credit and I get a free book. I haven't really done any of the free books in the past, but I started doing that a couple of months ago because there was a couple of books like memoirs, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll have to listen to that. It's a new genre to me, so it was a good way to get into that genre without sinking some money into it. But last month, I think it was, they opened up their premium catalogue, the Audible Plus, I think it's called. And so it has a lot of stuff included. Now, last week I talked about The Orchard, which is a short story, and hence why I am now starting a reading journal, because I can't put that short story into my Goodreads as my tally. So basically, I want to know that I've read that, so I'm putting it into my reading journal, which is on the way, by the way, people. So you'll get to see that when I set it all up. And yeah, so all of these classics are pretty much free. I haven't had to pay for one yet, so it's been really good to read those. And I've found a couple of other series through that. I found, as I said, the short story. The short story was read by Eric Bana, well, played out by Eric Bana, because it was like a audio of a play, and there was quite a few characters and whatnot in there. So if you haven't looked at Audible, just head over. I'm not affiliated with them. I was gonna send an email off. I forgot to do that, but I'm sure if you go over there you can join. I'm sure you know how to do it. I don't need any kickback from it. If you do enjoy it though, but you could leave me a tip in the tip jar, and the link is underneath this video for that. So that all goes towards the channel for giveaways and for improving on equipment and all the rest of it, such as the microphone that I'm using today. All right, so that was Mansfield Park. As I said, I'm reading the classics. The next one is whatever that is. I have to look that up. I don't have Google in front of me right now, so I will look that up and see what the next one is in chronological order, and I will do a little bit of my take on it next week. So you'll have to come back next Monday and join me for that. But I did find a new series. Oh, my goodness. I found a new series, and I'm hooked already. Like, I've read the first book. I read it yesterday. I found it. And I found it on Friday. I get the BookBub email sent to me, and there was Blake Pierce is the author. There was a Blake Pierce book in there, and I thought, I don't think I've heard of him. So I went on a little bit of an adventure across Google and Kindle, and you find out about the authors and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I noticed that he has a lot of series, and so I went and had a look, and I come across this series, which is the Jessica Hunt series, and it is a mystery thriller, suspense, psychological thriller. It's what I consider to be a short story because it's only got 199 pages, and it was published back in 2018. I've got this on Kindle. So I have it so I can read it, but it also came with an audible narration of it as well. So I can listen to it at the same time. But anyway, I started listening to it yesterday, and I read the last 3 chapters last night. So basically, it just follows the story of Jessica Hunt. She's 29. She's studying to be a criminal profiler. And she's right at the end of her studies. So she's on the verge of becoming a criminal profiler. And so she's a newlywed. Her and her husband moved to an Orange County from downtown LA, I think it was. I didn't write that down. I think it was downtown LA. So anyway, they've moved to this new suburbia, essentially. They've moved from the city to suburbia, and basically it's quite fast paced. It does move pretty quickly. I think that's what kept me engaged in it as well. So it moved along really quick, and it just follows her story of moving to this new town, them getting accepted into this club, and which is a little bit dodgy, and she's just got a really uneasy feeling about the town that she's moved to and all the rest of it. It's very reminiscent, like some of the characters in it, and the way that's portrayed. When I was reading it, I was thinking, like, this is very Stepford Wife type thing, because, none of the mums work, they've all got kids, they're all, morning coffee dates, and they're all like it's called the perfect wife. So, so basically it's a little bit Stepford Wife, and it was quite funny because I thought that as I was reading it, and then a little ways into the book it was actually mentioned Stepford Wife. So there's some darkness there in the background as well. So Jessica Hunt's got a bit of a dark background. There's some secrets on her husband's the husband's character. There's a little bit of dodginess to this club that they join. I don't want to give too much away, because believe me, you will power through this. As I said, it is available on Kindle, and it's also on has audio narration with it, so you can pick it up through Audible as well. But I suggest you go through Kindle because you get it cheaper than if you go through Audible. So Yeah, so basically it just, like, there was a bit of a cliffhanger at the end, so it continues on. So in this series there is, are you ready for it? I'm into these big long series, but as I said, this is classed as a short story. I knocked this over in 4 hours yesterday. And as I said, I listened to it while I was working, and then I finished the day off reading the last few chapters, and I sort of just powered through it. It was very quick and easy to read. There's 19 books in this series. So I have read the first one, absolutely loved it, thought it was fabulous. Looking forward, what I'm looking forward to it is to see the development of Jessica as a criminal profile, because this sort of stuff interests me as well. Not so much the serial killer thing and all that sort of stuff. That doesn't. If it's true crime, that interests me. If it's a book about a serial killer, it has to be a really, really, really fast paced storyline for me to get right into it. This one, I like it because it's the psychology behind it. So she's a profiler. So she's, it's her gut instincts and her feeling and all that sort of stuff. So in the story, as I said, they move to a new town. She's got an uneasy feeling. There's a dead body, obviously, turns up in the story as well. There's some secrets on her husband's side. There's secrets on her side. She's at the point where she thinks she's getting over her dark past and all that sort of stuff. She is just on the verge of becoming a profiler, and she's got to do the last of her studies by going to this hospital that no one sort of knows about these people. They're in a psych ward, they've gone for criminally insane, but they're never to be released. They can't be rehabilitated and stuff like that. And she wants to go there to do her last little leg of her studies and all the rest of it, which is like placement. So she gets to like work experience, so to speak, and all the rest of it. And she wants to speak this one particular criminal in there. And so she goes and talks to him, and they do some toing and froing of questions and this, that, and the other. And then there's, this whole suspense building up. Like, it was I really, really, really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to it. I've already keyed up the second book, ready to go. Again, I purchased it on Kindle. I will do a combination of both Kindle and Audible. But I won't be doing that until the end of the week. Excuse me, because the simple fact is I want to also get into the Virgin River. But I think I'm hooked because I really, as I said, I like the criminal profiler point of view. It's not like it's not all just serial. It's actually focusing on her as a character. So I'm really excited to see where she's going to go as she grows and develops and all the rest of it, and where it's going to go. I believe that, each book will probably be around this 200-page mark and all the rest of it. So they're all going to be pretty quick books, which is good because that's going to help me to get to my 100. If I can knock this over, and especially if I'm knocking them over 2 or 3 a week, that I'm definitely going to get closer to my 100 books for the year. So at this point, I'm sitting at 58. I've still got 42 to go, but this and Virgin River is going to get me up there close, and plus the classics that I'm reading and all the rest of it. I haven't gone and looked in Scribe yet to see if they're available in Scribe. If they are available in Scribe, I will let you know next week, because that is going to work out a little bit cheaper for me, because there is so many in the series. It will work out a lot cheaper because the simple fact is that I pay a one-time fee and then everything is included. So that's I'm pretty happy if I can find a good series in there on that. So so that next book is I'm just looking for it and what it is called. Just bear with me for a second and I will find it. The Perfect Block is the next one in the series, and this one was published in 2018 as well. So it's only got 215 pages. So as I said, most of these books are pretty much going to be around that 200 to 215, 20 pages, maybe 199 like the one I just read. So, and that was November. So this guy has been publishing, by the looks of it, one a month. So yeah, it is Blake Pearce. He has quite a few series out there, and I'm just looking at my Kindle now on what other series he has. Just bear with me. Oh. Okay, let's open that up again. I don't know what's going on with my Kindle lately. It just keeps taking all of my books out of my library, and then I've got to turn my phone on and turn it back on again. Okay, so the Jessica, at the time of the publishing of the second book, he had 4 out. And he's also got a lot of other ones. He's got Chloe Fine, psychological suspense series. That's got 4 books in it. Kate Wise mystery series. That's got 5 in it. The Making of Riley Page series. That's got 4 in it. Riley Page mystery series has 15 books in it. Mackenzie White mystery series has 12 books in it. And we've got the Avery Black and the Kerry Lock. So if he's as I said, the Jessica Hunt one has 19 so far. So I don't know whether when the 19th one was published. I could probably go back to Goodreads and tell you when that was published. But I'm really happy with the first book, and I hope that every other book afterward is continuing on along the same sort of fast-pacedness and all the rest of it. So let me see. I'll just bring up the last book that I added, which was book 19. It was published. Okay, so book 19 has not been published yet. Its expected publication is in March 2022. So he's pretty much been publishing this series since 2018, and it's a continuing series. So what I'm expecting from this book is a lot of character development, finding out more about Jessica Hunt's past, because they've only just touched on it, and just seeing how far this author is going to take this character. I'm very, very excited for that. So yeah, wish me luck on this new series. Now, as I said last week, I was going to this Monday talk about my list and everything that I have over in School of Magical Stitches. My printer died. I can't print it off. So I'm going to have to go and get a new printer today, and then that way I can print it off, and I can show you next week the difference in where I started and where I went to. Because I definitely got sidetracked. Big time. But they are the books that I have read this week. I've got a couple more coming up. I don't know how many of the Jessica Hunt series I'm going to get read. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm glad I got the little teapot done. I've just done the first half of it, half a leg. I've just got to go back and do the rest now, but that can be for tomorrow's. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you did like the bit of a chat about the books that I read this week. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up down below and leave us a comment down there. All the links for everything are down there, along with all the physical books with some affiliate links. So if you feel the need that you want to read some of those books, you'll be able to find them all down below. Yeah, so that is it from me today. Have a great week, everybody, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye for now.